What if the pennies you once ignored could be worth more than cars, homes, or even a lifetime of savings? From wartime coins to rare minting mysteries, Australian pennies have stunned the world with their unbelievable values. Some dates have turned pocket change into six-figure fortunes. And today, we're diving into the incredible stories behind these legendary pennies. So if you love discovering hidden value, rare coins, and unbelievable money stories, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me. Let's get started. First up, the legendary 1964 Australian penny. This is not just a coin. It is a story of mystery, rarity, history, and unbelievable value. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins ever associated with Australia, a coin that has captured the imagination of collectors around the world and turned ordinary people into accidental treasure hunters. To truly appreciate the 1964 Australian penny, we must first travel back in time. Australia was still using pre-decimal currency during the early 1960s. Pennies were a normal part of daily life, jingling in pockets, dropped into shop counters, and often ignored. The Royal Australian Mint was preparing for the big change to decimal currency, which would arrive in 1966. This transition meant that old coins would soon become obsolete, melted down, or forgotten. And yet, right in the middle of this change, something extraordinary happened. Officially, the Australian penny was not meant to be issued in 1964. By that year, production of pennies had effectively stopped because the country was gearing up for decimalization. However, a tiny number of pennies dated 1964 somehow came into existence. This alone makes the coin mysterious. How did it happen? Why were they made? Who authorized them? These questions have fueled decades of debate among numismatic experts and collectors. One popular theory suggests that a small batch of pennies was struck as test coins or experimental pieces. Another theory points to accidental production, possibly created when old dies were used unintentionally. There are even whispers that a few coins were struck deliberately for internal purposes within the mint, never meant to leave official hands. Whatever the truth may be, what matters is this. These coins exist, and they are among the rarest Australian coins ever known. At first glance, the 1964 Australian penny looks very similar to earlier pennies. It features the familiar kangaroo design on the reverse, a powerful symbol of Australia, standing proud and timeless. The obverse shows Queen Elizabeth II, as was standard for coins of that era. To the untrained eye, it could easily be mistaken for a common penny from the early 1960s. And that is exactly what makes this coin so dangerous and so exciting. It could be sitting unnoticed in an old jar, a forgotten drawer, or a family collection. What truly separates this penny from ordinary coins is its extreme rarity. It is believed that only a handful of genuine examples exist. We are not talking about hundreds or even dozens. We are talking about numbers so small that each coin has its own story and identity. When one appears at auction or is confirmed by experts, it sends shockwaves through the coin collecting community. News spreads fast, prices soar, and collectors scramble for a chance to even see one in person. Condition also plays a massive role in the value of the 1964 Australian penny. Like all coins, wear and damage can affect worth. However, because this coin is so rare, even examples that are not in perfect condition can command incredible attention. A well-preserved specimen, with sharp details and original surfaces, becomes something close to a holy grail for collectors. Authentication is critical, and experts carefully examine the metal composition, die characteristics, and historical records before confirming a coin as genuine. The fascination with this penny goes far beyond money. It represents a moment in Australian history when the country was on the brink of major change. It symbolizes the end of an era, the last breaths of the old currency system before decimal coins took over. Holding this coin is like holding a secret from the past, a mistake or mystery that slipped through the cracks of history and survived against all odds. Stories have emerged over the years of people discovering rare coins in the most unexpected places. Old piggy banks, inherited collections, garage sales, and even loose change have all been sources of surprising finds. The idea that a coin worth a fortune could be hiding in plain sight keeps people searching, checking dates, and dreaming. The 1964 Australian penny has become the ultimate symbol of that dream. Collectors around the world recognize this coin not just as an Australian treasure, but as a global numismatic legend. It is often compared to other famous rarity coins from different countries, and it consistently ranks among the most valuable. Auction houses treat it with reverence, museums desire it, and private collectors guard it fiercely. Each time one changes hands, it becomes headline news in the coin world. Now, we come to the moment that makes jaws drop and hearts race. In the world of rare coins, value is determined by rarity, demand, condition, and story. The 1964 Australian penny has all four in abundance. This tiny copper coin, once worth almost nothing in everyday use, has reached a value that feels almost unreal. One confirmed example has been valued at $143,700, a figure that transforms a simple penny into a life-changing discovery. So the next time you come across an old coin collection or a dusty jar filled with forgotten change, take a closer look. Check the dates. Examine the details. Because history has shown us that sometimes the smallest objects carry the biggest surprises. The 1964 Australian penny is proof that treasure does not always glitter like gold. Sometimes it quietly waits in copper, carrying a story worth telling and a value beyond imagination. Next up, today we uncover the incredible tale of the 1952 Australian penny, a coin that proves history, rarity, and value can exist in the smallest of forms. The early 1950s were a unique time in Australia. The country was rebuilding after the effects of the Second World War, industries were growing, and everyday life was slowly returning to normal. Coins like the penny were used constantly, passed from one hand to another without a second thought. Millions of people handled them daily, never imagining that one specific year would later stand out as something truly special. Among these everyday coins, the 1952 penny quietly entered circulation. At first glance, the 1952 Australian penny appears ordinary. It carries the familiar kangaroo design on the reverse, strong and symbolic, representing Australia's resilience and identity. On the front, the portrait of King George VI reflects the era before Queen Elizabeth II appeared on Australian coins. This alone gives the coin historical weight, as it belongs to the final years of George VI's reign, adding emotional and historical depth to its existence. What makes the 1952 penny especially intriguing is not just its age, but the circumstances surrounding its production. Compared to other years, the number of pennies struck in 1952 was relatively limited. Economic conditions, metal usage, and minting priorities all played a role. While pennies were still needed, production levels varied, and certain years became far scarcer than others. Over time, many coins were lost, damaged, or melted down, shrinking the surviving population even further. Collectors pay close attention to condition, and the 1952 penny is no exception. Coins that spent decades in circulation often show heavy wear, flattened details, and surface marks. Finding an example that has survived in high-grade condition is extremely difficult. Sharp kangaroo details, clear lettering, and original surfaces dramatically increase desirability. Each surviving high-quality coin becomes a rare snapshot of the past, preserved against the odds. Another factor that adds excitement is the thrill of discovery. Many people do not realize the value of older pennies sitting in inherited collections, forgotten tins, or old drawers. The 1952 penny is one of those coins that rewards curiosity. A casual glance might dismiss it as common, but a closer inspection can reveal a treasure hiding in plain sight. This possibility fuels the passion of collectors and keeps the legend of the coin alive. Beyond rarity and condition, the story of the 1952 penny connects deeply with Australian history. It represents a pre-decimal era when money felt physical and personal. Each penny carried weight, sound, and purpose. Holding one today feels like holding a piece of daily life from more than 70 years ago. It reminds us how much the world has changed and how small objects can survive as silent witnesses to history. As demand for rare Australian coins has grown, the 1952 penny has steadily climbed in importance. Auction houses recognize its appeal, collectors actively search for premium examples, and experts carefully authenticate and grade each coin that surfaces. Its reputation has evolved from a simple old penny to a serious investment and historical artifact. The combination of age, limited supply, and collector demand continues to push its status higher each year. Now comes the moment that truly captures attention. When a 1952 Australian penny appears in exceptional condition, the reaction is immediate. Collectors understand what they are seeing, and competition becomes fierce. One outstanding example of this coin has reached a value of $123,500, a staggering amount that transforms a humble penny into a life-changing asset. So the next time you come across an old Australian coin, pause before dismissing it. Look closely at the date, the design, and the condition. Because stories like the 1952 Australian penny remind us that extraordinary value often hides behind ordinary appearances. In the world of coins, history speaks softly, but when it does, it can be worth a fortune. Next up, the 1949 Australian penny is more than old money. It is a powerful reminder that even the smallest object can carry an extraordinary story and an astonishing worth. The year 1949 was a turning point for Australia. The nation was emerging from the shadow of the Second World War, rebuilding its economy, reshaping society, and stepping into a new era of confidence. Everyday life was changing, but the penny remained a constant presence. It paid for essentials, helped children learn the value of saving, and passed through millions of hands without a second thought. No one could have imagined that one specific year would later become legendary among collectors. The design of the 1949 Australian penny reflects tradition and strength. On one side stands a kangaroo, a symbol deeply woven into Australia's identity, proud and unmistakable. The other side features King George VI, whose portrait places the coin firmly within a significant historical period. This was a time before decimal currency, before modern coins, when each piece of copper felt solid and meaningful. The coin itself feels like a bridge between past and present. What makes the 1949 penny so fascinating is its rarity. While pennies were produced in large numbers overall, certain years had much lower surviving examples. Economic conditions, minting priorities, and later withdrawals from circulation all played a role. Over the decades, many coins were lost, worn beyond recognition, or melted down. As a result, high-quality examples from 1949 became increasingly scarce, turning an ordinary-looking coin into a highly sought-after prize. Condition is everything when it comes to this penny. Most examples show heavy wear from years of circulation. The kangaroo's features may appear flat, the lettering faded, and the surface marked by time. Finding a coin with strong details, clean fields, and minimal damage is incredibly difficult. When such a specimen does appear, it commands instant respect. Collectors know they are looking at something truly special. The excitement surrounding the 1949 penny is fueled by the possibility of discovery. Many people still have old coins stored away, passed down through generations. These collections often go unchecked, dismissed as sentimental keepsakes rather than valuable assets. Yet history has proven time and again that rare coins can surface from the most unexpected places. A single careful look at a date can change everything. Beyond its monetary appeal, the 1949 Australian penny carries emotional weight. It represents post-war hope, national resilience, and a simpler time in Australian life. Each scratch and mark tells a story of use and survival. Holding one today feels like holding a fragment of everyday history, preserved in copper, quietly defying time. As interest in Australian numismatics has grown, the 1949 penny has earned a reputation as one of the most desirable pieces from the pre-decimal era. Auction houses showcase it with pride, collectors chase it relentlessly, and experts carefully authenticate each example that emerges. Its legend continues to grow, not just because of its scarcity, but because of the powerful story it tells. Then comes the moment that truly captures attention and turns curiosity into amazement. When a 1949 Australian penny appears in exceptional condition, its value can be breathtaking. One remarkable example of this coin has been valued at $167,900, a sum that elevates a simple penny into the realm of life-changing treasure. So the next time you encounter an old Australian coin, do not dismiss it as ordinary. Look closer. Check the date. Study the details. Because the story of the 1949 Australian penny reminds us that history often hides in plain sight, and sometimes a small piece of copper can hold a value beyond imagination. Next up, the 1944 Australian penny is not just an old coin. It is a powerful survivor from one of the most intense chapters in history. The year 1944 was defined by uncertainty and sacrifice. Australia was deeply involved in the Second World War, and daily life was shaped by rationing, military service, and industrial pressure. Metal was valuable, factories were focused on supporting the war effort, and coin production was affected by these realities. Pennies were still needed for everyday transactions, but they were made under difficult conditions, often with limited resources and shifting priorities. The design of the 1944 Australian penny reflects tradition and endurance. On the reverse, the iconic kangaroo stands firm, a timeless symbol of Australia's strength and resilience. On the obverse appears King George VI, whose reign coincided with the challenges of wartime leadership. This combination gives the coin a powerful historical identity, firmly anchoring it to a moment when the future of the world felt uncertain. What makes the 1944 penny especially fascinating is how many of these coins did not survive in good condition. Wartime circulation was harsh. Coins changed hands constantly, often under rough conditions. Many were worn smooth, damaged, or later removed from circulation and melted down. As decades passed, finding well-preserved examples became increasingly difficult. Scarcity grew quietly, unnoticed by most, until collectors began to realize what was disappearing. Condition plays a crucial role in the value of this penny. Most surviving examples show heavy wear, flattened details, and surface marks that tell the story of their hard-working lives. A coin with clear lettering, strong kangaroo details, and minimal damage is exceptionally rare. These high-grade examples stand apart not just as currency, but as historical artifacts frozen in time. There is also a powerful sense of mystery surrounding coins from this era. Many were saved unknowingly by families, tucked away in boxes, tins, or drawers after the war ended. Generations passed, and these coins became forgotten keepsakes. Today, the idea that a wartime penny could be hiding in an old collection adds an element of excitement and hope that keeps people searching. The 1944 Australian penny also represents emotional history. It is a reminder of resilience, unity, and everyday life continuing despite global conflict. Every scratch and mark speaks of a time when people relied on simple objects to navigate complex lives. Holding this coin today creates a direct connection to those who lived through the war years, making it deeply meaningful beyond its financial worth. As interest in rare Australian coins has grown, collectors have placed increasing importance on wartime issues. The 1944 penny has earned a respected place among serious numismatists. Auction houses highlight its scarcity. Experts carefully authenticate genuine examples, and competition for high-quality specimens continues to intensify. Its reputation has evolved from a common wartime coin to a prized collectible. The market response to this penny has been nothing short of remarkable. When a top-condition 1944 Australian penny appears, it immediately draws attention. Collectors understand that opportunities like this are rare, and bidding becomes fierce. One exceptional example of this historic coin has reached a value of $115,400, a figure that transforms a simple copper penny into a life-changing discovery. So the next time you encounter an old Australian coin, especially one from the wartime years, take a moment to truly look at it. Dates matter. Condition matters. History matters. The story of the 1944 Australian penny proves that even during humanity's darkest times, small objects can endure, carry powerful stories, and one day reveal extraordinary value. Next up, the 1939 Australian penny is not only rare and valuable today, it is deeply connected to one of the most powerful moments of the 20th century. This small piece of metal carries a story of transition, uncertainty, and astonishing worth that continues to captivate collectors around the globe. The year 1939 stands at the edge of a global turning point. It was the year the Second World War began, a time when nations braced themselves for conflict, and everyday life was about to change forever. In Australia, people went about their routines while feeling the tension of what lay ahead. Coins like the penny moved through shops, markets, and households, quietly present as history unfolded. No one imagined that this particular year would later become legendary in the world of coin collecting. The design of the 1939 Australian penny reflects both tradition and transition. On the reverse, the familiar kangaroo remains strong and proud, symbolizing Australia's identity and endurance. On the obverse appears King George VI, whose portrait marked a relatively new reign after the abdication crisis of the late 1930s. This combination makes the coin a snapshot of a nation and a monarchy adjusting to sudden change. What elevates the 1939 penny above many others is its extraordinary rarity. While pennies were produced for circulation, the number of surviving examples in high-quality condition is incredibly small. Economic uncertainty, wartime pressures, and years of heavy use meant that many coins were damaged, lost, or destroyed. As time passed, collectors began to realize that this particular year was becoming harder and harder to find, especially in well-preserved form. Condition plays a defining role in the value of this coin. Most 1939 pennies show significant wear-softened details and surface marks that reflect decades of circulation. A specimen with sharp features, strong lettering, and original surfaces is exceptionally rare. When such a coin appears, it immediately becomes the focus of intense attention. Collectors recognize that they are seeing something that may not appear again for years. There is also an emotional pull that surrounds this penny. It represents the final moments before global conflict reshaped the world. It reminds us of ordinary people using everyday money while standing on the edge of extraordinary events. This emotional connection adds depth to its appeal, transforming it from a collectible into a tangible link to the past. Stories continue to surface of rare coins discovered in family collections, inherited boxes, and forgotten containers. The idea that a 1939 Australian penny could still be hiding somewhere fuels excitement and curiosity. It encourages people to look twice at old coins, to research their history, and to appreciate the hidden potential of what they already own. In the world of numismatics, the 1939 penny has earned legendary status. Auction houses treat it as a centerpiece. Experts carefully verify each example, and collectors are willing to wait years for a chance to acquire one. Its scarcity, combined with its historical importance, has pushed it into the highest ranks of Australian coin collecting. When an exceptional example of this penny emerges, the reaction is immediate and dramatic. Bidding becomes intense, attention spreads beyond national borders, and the coin's reputation grows even stronger. One remarkable 1939 Australian penny has reached a value of $450,800, an almost unbelievable figure for a single copper coin. This is why the 1939 Australian penny continues to fascinate and inspire. It reminds us that history can live in our hands, that small objects can carry enormous stories, and that hidden among ordinary things can be treasures of extraordinary value. So the next time you see an old penny, remember that sometimes the past is worth far more than anyone ever imagined.